placed 140th globally. 2 WTA victories. In total, her whole professional life. A Filipino, 19 years old. There was no reason to watch women's tennis in a nation that had never placed a player in the top 100. Iga Swiatek was also on the other side of the internet. Ranked second in the world, with 5 Grand Slams. On a winning run of 38 games versus players who are not in the top 50. In 2 sets, she broke Swiatek's serve 8 times. Furthermore, it's not just an issue of who she is. How does anything like this occur, I wonder? There are now 2 stories circulating concerning Alex Eala. One of them is genuine. One of them was created by people who sought to create drama around her name after seeing it trend. You will be able to tell the difference by the end of this video. Furthermore, the true narrative is so remarkable that the made-up one is entirely superfluous. This is what we will be doing today. In Quezon City, the Philippines, we are beginning with a 4-year-old girl. We're tracking everything from the invention of the tennis racket to the incident at a Miami stadium that caused the entire nation to halt its activities. We're going to examine what really makes her good, not just the highlights, but the particular traits that allowed a 140-ranked wildcard to destroy the world's number 2 player. You deserve to know what is true, so we will go over the disputes and clearly identify the bogus ones. I'll give you my honest assessment at the conclusion. Does the player see the hype behind her, in front of her, or where it should be? People who don't even follow tennis have been captivated by this story for a reason. Now let's get started. Alexandra Maniego Ayala was born in Quezon City, Philippines, on May 23, 2005. Risa, her mother, was a bronze medalist in the SEA Games and a national swimmer. The Philippine Sports Commission was headed by her uncle. Tennis was not the idea, but sport was ingrained in this family's architecture, not simply via blood. On a court far from the WTA circuit, Bobby Maniego, her grandfather, gave a 4-year-old a racket. Just a grandfather and a youngster, no big scheme, no prodigy program. 8 years later, residents in Mallorca, Spain, would become aware of what had happened on that court. At the age of 12, she emerged victorious in Les Petites, the world's most prestigious junior competition, also known as the Wimbledon of Juniors. At the youthful age of 12, she accepted an offer from the Rafa Nadal Academy the same year. Rafael Nadal's instructor from childhood to 14 Grand Slam victories, Tony Nadal, was present. 45 courts. Top juniors from 40 nations. Here's what I want you to know about what she was entering. For this, there was no template. There had never been a Filipino in the WTA Top 100. Never once. Not in 50 years of women's tennis as a vocation. As she walked the route, she was constructing it. Eala accumulated titles throughout the course of the following 2 years. Australian Open Junior Doubles, 2020. At the age of 14, she is the youngest competitor. French Open Junior Doubles, 2021. She recently turned 16. She has already won the Junior Grand Slam twice. These are remarkable outcomes. However, these are doubles titles as well. Shared honor. Shared strain. Every tennis watcher was secretly wondering if she could succeed in singles on junior's largest stage by herself. 2022. New York's U.S. Open Girls Singles. Throughout the entire competition, she did not lose a single set. She defeated Mira Andreeva, who was a little-known junior at the time but is currently a top 10 WTA professional with 1,000 championships, in the quarterfinals. She defeated Lucy Havlikova 6-2, 6-4 in the final without ever being in grave danger. The first Filipino in the history of the sport to win a Grand Slam singles title, regardless of level. This is the segment that is omitted from every highlight reel. Because qualifying for the professional circuit and winning a junior Grand Slam are 2 different things. They are not even remotely similar. The junior circuit is a regulated setting with players your age, comparable developmental stages, and well-known names. The professional tour is completely different. Mature women who have worked for 10 years. Skilled coaches create match strategies with the express purpose of breaking you. A ranking system that, regardless of your junior accomplishments, places you at the bottom. At the 2023 Australian Open, Ayala made her maiden try to qualify for a Grand Slam at the age of 17. Despite losing, she persisted. She was trying to win all 4 Grand Slams by 2024. She was not eligible for any of them. Every round of qualifying. Every loss. 5 ITF titles by the end of 2024. 3 titles in doubles. Never a main draw for the Grand Slam. Placed slightly outside of the top 150. 19 years of age. And the question that no one wanted to voice aloud was being quietly posed by the tennis community. Would she be one of those players? A junior champion with no transitional skills. I would like to take a moment to invite you to subscribe if you are new to our site. It greatly aids in the expansion of my new channel so that I can continue to provide you with excellent tennis material. March of 2025. The Open in Miami. One of the top 5 women's tennis competitions. A wild card is given to her. Ranked 140th with just 2 WTA victories in his career. No reporters are opening her file in the press room. Katie Volanets, Round 1. Eala prevails. No one observes. Yelena Ostapenko, Round 2. The 2017 French Open champion, a former member of the world's top 5, and a player who hits the ball more forcefully than nearly everyone on the women's circuit. Eala overcomes a 4-0 deficit in the opening set to win 7-6, 7-5. Some individuals begin to pay attention. Madison Keys, Round 3. Ranked number 5 in the world and the current 2025 Australian Open champion. She is defeated by Eala, 6-4, 6-2. It's not even close. Keys has 51 unforced errors at the end. Eala scarcely flinches after breaking her serve 6 times. Since the WTA rankings started in 1975, that was the first Filipino player to place in the top 10. Up until that Miami afternoon, no Filipino player had ever been good enough to defeat a top 10 opponent. Iga Swiatek, the world's number 2, came next. A 38-match winning run against players outside the top 50 has resulted in 5 Grand Slam victories. Throughout her career, she had gone 27-2 versus left-handers. Standing across the net from a wild card who, just 2 weeks prior, had never won consecutive WTA matches in her career, she was the most dominant player in women's tennis. In Eala's box, Tony Nadal was observing. The match's first 4 games lasted more than 25 minutes. Deuce won every game. Eala broke after that. And broke once more. And broke once more. In the first 6 games, 5 of them went against serve. Swiatek's feet were flat. In just the first set, she made 19 unforced mistakes, 16 of which came from her typically dependable forehand. The set was won 6-2 by Eala. Swiatek fought back in the second set. She managed a 4-2 victory. The stadium became tense. After that, Eala won 5 of the previous 6 games. In 2 sets, she broke Swiatek's serve 8 times. She prevailed 6-2, 7-5. After sealing it with a blazing forehand, she remained motionless and stared at the scoreboard with her hands over her eyes, unable to comprehend what had just transpired. Her family arrived by plane from the Philippines. The stands at Hard Rock Stadium in Florida were adorned with Philippine flags. Pacquiao, Manny, was tweeting. A formal declaration was released by the Philippine Presidential Palace. Tennis was the most popular topic for the first time in any of their lives. In the Philippines. Despite losing to world number 4 Jessica Pegula in the semi-final, she received a standing ovation from the fans as she left. None of them had ever seen what she had given them. Ranked 140th to 75th, she won $332,000 in prize money in just 7 days, nearly 2/3 of all the money she had made during her career. After Justine Henin and Victoria Azarenka, 2 former world number 1s who returned from injury, she became the 3rd wild card in Miami Open history to advance to the semifinals. Eala had nothing to return from. She was coming. Now let's really respond to the query. Because in tennis, a wild card can defeat a number 2 seed. Although it's uncommon, it does occur. What we need to know is why this wasn't an isolated incident and what certain characteristics caused the top 10 players to feel uneasy. This is the beginning of it. Her left-handedness is a significant aspect of her game. It is the cornerstone of everything. As a left-hander, Eala's forehand cross-quarter goes to an opponent's backhand, the normal, expected pattern. Her perspective, however, is distinct. The ball departs her strings in a direction that right-handed players see maybe a couple of times per year at this level. The geometry is not familiar. It's a strange spin pattern. You can train for that, but there is no alternative for repetition, and most players on tour have very little repetition against elite left-handers. Her second weapon is her return game, and it is actually elite, not good for her level high, but objectively elite by tour standards. She stands well inside the baseline. Before the ball reaches its maximum height, she catches it early on the rise. Additionally, she attacks second serves with a level of ferocity that most players at her level just lack the technical confidence to match. She scored points against Swiatek at a rate that would make any coach cringe on Swiatek's second serve. Her second serve return victory percentage for the entire 2025 season was 59%. It's a weapon. The top 5 returners on tour exhibit the same excellence. Clijsters compared her to former world number 4 Dominika Cibulkova and referred to her as a Rottweiler. She specifically emphasized Eala's ability to switch from defense to attack in a single shot. The majority of players are in survival mode when they are pressed behind the baseline or pushed wide. All they're doing is attempting to retrieve the ball. Eala can quickly change a defensive position into an offensive one by absorbing a challenging ball and rerouting it quickly. When you're on the other side of that change pace, Clijsters said, it's really difficult to deal with. I want to be honest now since a thorough analysis necessitates the whole picture. The tour has identified her true flaws. Both pace and diversity are lacking in her serve. On her second serve, she scores about 44% of the points. That is less than the average for the tour. It exposes her at the beginning of rallies before her strengths can be used against aggressive returners, players who stand in and attack. In 2025, her WTA clay court record was less than 25%. On slower surfaces, she finds it difficult to generate the angles and early ball pressure that make her dangerous on hard courts against counterpunchers who can absorb her pace and reroute it. The known quantity transition is another issue that is rarely discussed. You only have one chance to be a wild card. Every coach on tour had a video of her after Miami. They possessed her comfort and discomfort zones, as well as her patterns and habits. Wuhan, Madrid, Rome, Birmingham, and the second half of 2025 were more difficult. Uneven outcomes and early exits. There was no longer any sense of surprise. The true test of whether a breakout talent develops into a full-fledged player is this. When no one has examined you, it doesn't matter if you can defeat the number 2 seed. Whether you can prevail when they have is the question. At the beginning of this video, I said I would tell Eala. Returners, players who stand in and attack. In 2025, her WTA clay court record was less than 25%. On slower surfaces, she finds it difficult to generate the angles and early ball pressure that make her dangerous on hard courts against counterpunchers who can absorb her pace and reroute it. The known quantity transition is another issue that is rarely discussed. You only have one chance to be a wild card. Every coach on tour had a video of her after Miami. They possessed her comfort and discomfort zones, as well as her patterns and habits. Wuhan, Madrid, Rome, Birmingham, and the second half of 2025 were more difficult. Uneven outcomes and early exits. There was no longer any sense of surprise. The true test of whether a breakout talent develops into a full-fledged player is this. When no one has examined you, it doesn't matter if you can defeat the number 2 seed. Whether you can prevail when they have is the question. At the beginning of this video, I said I would tell you what is real and what is made up. Since there is a particular kind of content being produced on Alex Eala that I believe is worthwhile, let's do it right now. There is a documented trend. AI-generated posts that circulate mostly in Filipino online groups and manufacture dramatic stories about Eala to promote participation have been fact-checked by Philippine media outlets, such as Verifiles and Rappler. Her name is currently among the most popular sports names in Southeast Asia, and some people have worked out how to make money off of that interest, which is why these posts exist. These are the particular untrue stories. To let you know what to disregard, I'm labeling them clearly. Eala was not the target of racial remarks from Irina Sabalenka. No reliable source has that story. Not the WTA, ESPN, The Guardian, or the AP. It was created. Regarding Eala, Sabalenka is not subject to a $150,000 fine or suspension. Invented as well. There was no $45 million Wilson endorsement contract for Eala. Since it didn't occur, no reliable source covered it. She was not chosen by Michael Jordan to be the next face of Air Jordan for $1.8 billion. That one made no attempt at plausibility at all. Additionally, Oprah Winfrey refrained from making racial comments on Eala, another idea that combined Alex's name with that of one of the largest celebrities to generate revenue. These have all been refuted. They are all still in circulation. The actual disputes are more intricate and fascinating. Eala's first-round match at the 2026 Australian Open is set to take place on Court 6, which can accommodate about 1,000 spectators. It turned out to be closer to 5,000. At the gates, thousands of fans were turned away. Those who entered had the fervor of a football stadium, yelling during rallies and applauding her opponent's mistakes in the middle of the game. Alicia Parks, her opponent, was clearly impacted. She was defeated 6-0 in the opening set. She later said that the mood was so overwhelming that she started crying during the changeover. The chair umpire had to continually signal for silence. After that, Parks collected herself, defeated Eala, and won the following 2 sets. The tournament publicly admitted that the schedule was incorrect. Online, 2 camps quickly emerged. The crowd's actions, according to one side, were unsportsmanlike. It is truly against tennis etiquette to encourage an opponent's double faults, and there is a reason for this. The opposing viewpoint questioned, why are we expecting a brand new audience to arrive already trained in the customs of a sport they discovered 6 months ago? Who is accountable for that? However, this is what I believe to be the most crucial statement on the entire circumstance. When asked about the scenario at a press conference, Novak Djokovic described it as a really nice problem to have, stating that she is the biggest tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there is a lot of interest. There are no drawbacks that I can identify. It is a really nice problem to have an excessive number of spectators at a tennis tournament. I saw Alex Eala the other day, and that's been the discussion, which makes sense. Some players are traveling from their own nations. For example, she is traveling from the Philippines, which is currently rather significant. She is the most popular tennis player in history from that large nation, and there is a lot of attention. According to Jessica Pegula, athletes that attract new fans are beneficial to all. Sam Querrey, a former ATP professional, posed a question on the Nothing Major podcast. The tournament promised to improve next year. Is Eala currently the most popular player in women's tennis? Is she larger than Coco or Sabalenka? Steve Johnson responded right away, saying, "Yes, dude, it's crazy. Only standing room, Australia. Only standing room in Dubai. It's crazy." It is supported by the numbers. Eala's pre-tournament news conference at the Australian Open attracted 171,000 online viewers. Sabalenka's drew 9,000 and Coco Gauff's drew 29,000. I believe there is more going on here than just tennis, so allow me to explain what I believe to be true. There are 115 million people living in the Philippines. It is among the nations with the greatest interest for sports worldwide. There is sports in this nation. There is no tennis in this nation. It used to be, at least. In the Philippines, tennis was usually associated with other nations. It wasn't through years of hard work and gradual progress that Alex Eala altered that. Ranked 140th with 2 career WTA victories, she made it impossible to overlook her in just 7 days by traveling to Miami in March 2025. The Filipino diaspora, which was dispersed over Australia, the Gulf states, North America, and the UK, mobilized in a manner never seen in tennis history. Press conferences with 6-figure viewership, flags in Miami, and long lines at Melbourne Park. As of March 2026, she is the highest-ranked Filipino in WTA history with a career-high ranking of 31. Alongside the finest athletes Nike has ever collaborated with, her photo now hangs in the Ambassador Tunnel after she visited the company's global headquarters in Oregon. For the 8th time since 2019, she won the title of Philippines Female Athlete of the Y. Least. In the Philippines, tennis was usually associated with other nations. It wasn't through years of hard work and gradual progress that Alex Eala altered that. Ranked 140th with 2 career WTA victories, she made it impossible to overlook her in just 7 days by traveling to Miami in March 2025. The Filipino diaspora, which was dispersed over Australia, the Gulf states, North America, and the UK, mobilized in a manner never seen in tennis history. Press conferences with six-figure viewership, flags in Miami, and long lines at Melbourne Park. As of March 2026, she is the highest-ranked Filipino in WTA history with a career-high ranking of 31. Alongside the finest athletes Nike has ever collaborated with, her photo now hangs in the Ambassador Tunnel after she visited the company's global headquarters in Oregon. For the 8th time since 2019, she won the title of Philippines Female Athlete of the Year. Additionally, the WTA acknowledged that the demand she had generated made the Philippine Women's Open, the first WTA event ever hosted in the Philippines, commercially necessary. I want to take a moment to linger on that final one. The first WTA event is held for a whole nation, not as a result of a lengthy national federation campaign, nor as a result of a financial bid. Because one player rose to prominence to the point where the WTA was required. That isn't a participant. It's a movement. Is she the actual stuff, then? This is my frank assessment. No Filipino tennis player has ever accomplished what she has. She has a 3-2 record against opponents in the top 10. She has demonstrated that she belongs on the same court as the world's top athletes. However, she is 20 years old. When it comes to the players who can punish her, her serve is a liability. Clay continues to be an issue. The 2025 back half demonstrated that she does not yet own the whole armament to be dangerous, and that the tour has figured out how to make things difficult for her. Alex Eala is not yet ahead of the hype, but neither is the hype ahead of her. Although she hasn't done enough to fully justify it based just on outcomes, she has done enough to merit the attention. When she defeated Swiatek, she was asked if this was the kind of success she had envisioned for herself when she first started touring. I believe that every player in this room has dreamed of being a successful tennis player. The ultimate objective is to achieve the rankings and win slams. This, in my opinion, is a positive step toward my goals. As a wild card, she defeated the world's second-best player. In front of a nation that has never been interested in women's tennis. It was a nice step, she said. That was a year ago. Since then, she has won her first WTA final, first Grand Slam main draw victory, first WTA 125 title, first gold medal at the SEA Games, a career-high ranking, and the first WTA event conducted in her nation. For a country that had been waiting for them all, there were roughly 20 firsts. She is barely 20 years old. You will miss the remainder of it if you aren't monitoring her. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you liked this in-depth look. I'll see you at the next one.